tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. So welcome everybody to this new year and this Sunday afternoon program. I hope you all had a pleasant holidays and a New Year's Eve, waking up in the new year. So today we are continuing our look at the Dhammapada verses, and we are currently in the Chitta Vagga, the third chapter of the Dhammapada, on verses 41, 42, and 43. Now, for those of you who are watching this screen, you might see my ears moving. That means I'm not going to start flying like Dumbo the elephant. That's a virtue. The virtual screen is causing my ears to move like that. So I'm going to chant the verses for the first verse on number 41. Achiram vatayam kayo pataving adisesati chundo apetta vinyano nirattam va kalingaram. The meaning of that is, before long, alas, this body will lie cast upon the ground, devoid of consciousness, as a useless log of wood. So, a lot of people don't like to hear that kind of a verse, but basically it refers to, even though this section this verse is in the Chitta Vagga about the mind, he's talking about the impermanence and unpredictability of life in this body. So basically, it's meaning that before long means, of course, it could be tomorrow, it could be 1 week, it could be 1 month, some years, it could be 50 years from now if you happen to be young. But the point is, at some point before long, because we don't know when death might come. That's the important part to remember. That this body will lie aside, devoid of consciousness. That means once the consciousness leaves the body at the moment of death, this body really becomes like it's not a useless log of wood. Some logs of wood can be useful, but it's just a term. Or decaying log, probably a better translation would be like a decaying log is kind of, you can't really burn it very well. But so, from the Buddhist point of view, the body is nothing really special. And so even the idea of dolling it up, they take it to a mortuary, or they, put it in clothes and want to make it look nice and all that. Of course, they may do that nowadays, but in the old days, they didn't do that. And usually the bodies were just thrown out in the charnel ground, because it was, maybe a lot of, if they buried the body, animals would come around and dig that up. But even in the charnel ground, they did that. But they would use it, they consider, okay, this body is just like meat, like a dead animal. So they would put it out in the charnel grounds, and animals would come and even eat it up, or it would just decay. And all the elements of the body go back to ground. But, the mind is the important thing. So even though this verse comes in the Chitta Vagga, it's knowing that our mind cannot exist without a body, some kind of a body. And when the body can no longer support the consciousness, then it leaves. And so there's a story behind this verse. And so the Buddha was ministering or attending to a sick monk. So in those days, when the monks got sick, the monks had left their family and everything, so their only family was the other monks, whether it was in a monastery or wherever they were living. So it was a kind of a duty of the companion monks to take care of the sick, any sick monks, because again, they had no family to look after them. And then this one monk was not particularly liked very much by the other monks for some reason. It doesn't state the exact reason, but or maybe his wounds and sores and disease was so severe that the other monks didn't want to get near him. So the Buddha himself went and attended to this sick monk. He said he washed the body, with whatever, to clean the wounds and to basically kind of take care of the sick monk, which was, I guess, looking like a rotting log, right? It was full of sores and so on. So the Buddha washed this monk's body, and then he sat down by the monk and then gave him a Dhamma talk on the nature of the body. And that's when he recited this verse. And then probably he told, even though this body is sick and the body is decaying, don't let your mind be sick. See, my ears are starting to waggle there a little bit. So I guess if you can see that on your virtual screen. So there's another verse in which the Buddha said, let the body be sick, but don't let the mind be sick. So some people's bodies are sick and their minds are also sick. But people who practice the Dhamma, even though our bodies should be sick, don't let your mind be sick too. And that means don't be too preoccupied and worried about this decaying body. You can't do anything about it. I mean, you maybe take some medicines, but even that has a limited effect. And don't let your mind pine for the past or the future, and just develop that present moment, contentment. So, again, if any of you have any questions or anything related to these verses, you can write them down on the chat thing, and then we'll try to look at them after we're done going over these verses. Now, The next two verses are about the mind. These are also very nice verses. And so I'll chant the Pali for both verses because they're kind of sister verses. Diso disam yam tam kaira veriva panaverinam mitcha panihitam chittam papiyo nam tatu kare natam mata pita kaira anyeva picha nyataka samma panihitam chittam seyaso nam tato kare. So I'll give the English translation. Whatever harm a foe may do to their enemy or to one, or a hater to another hater, an ill-directed mind can do one a far greater harm. So, like whatever harm your enemies could do to you, your ill-directed mind can do worse harm to you than perhaps the enemies. So you might get shot with a bullet, you might get stabbed with a knife, people might throw some clods at you, and you might get hurt a little bit, but your ill-directed mind, if your mind is full of ignorance, greed, and hatred, and prone to breaking all the precepts, then if not in this life, at the time of death, that mind and those memories are going to cause you a greater harm. In terms of also the guilt, worry, remorse, and fear that you might carry with you in this life, always looking over your shoulder to see if somebody's going to find out some negative things that you did. Or with the rebirth, then the mind could be even reborn in some unfortunate destination in the next life. So that's the meaning of that verse. And I'm going to, there's also a story about this verse. So it seemed there's a wealthy herdsman, a man who had a big herd of cattle or goats. And this wealthy herdsman had been entertaining the Buddha. That means probably offering alms, had the Buddha there and had served the Buddha, a nice meal. And when the Buddha left, this man went with the Buddha, as the Buddha was walking back to his monastery. This lay person was walking back with the Buddha, maybe about halfway or so, and then he let the Buddha continue walking, and that man returned to his home. And according to this story, as this man was going back to his home, he was accidentally killed by a stray arrow. So in those days, a lot of people hunted with bows and arrows, not with guns. They didn't have guns in those days. So everybody was shooting bows and arrows, and maybe some hunter inadvertently was shooting at a deer or something, but it missed, and it hit this man, and he died. So then the monks told the Buddha about that, and were telling the Buddha that if the Buddha had not visited that man, he wouldn't have met with that fatal accident. So they were kind of like insinuating, or that the Buddha was partly cause for this man's death, because if the Buddha hadn't invited the man, had gone to the man's house, the man wouldn't have walked back with the Buddha and then wouldn't have encountered that arrow. So this was the thinking in the minds of the monks. But then the Buddha replied to him that under no circumstances would that man have escaped his death owing to the past evil deeds that man had committed. So the Buddha, of course, had some psychic power. And see, Anicca, you can see my fingers disappearing. Anyway, so he's saying that no one can escape their evil deeds. And that because of the ill-directed mind that man had previously, he encountered this untimely death of getting hit by the arrow. Whether the Buddha had gone there or not, still something would have happened. That man would have reaped the effects of his previous unskillful actions. So that's the meaning of it, that our ill-directed mind can do us more harm. I mean, look at people who cannot resist taking drugs. So because their mind somehow, gets caught up into whether alcoholism or drugs, and that ruins so many lives, no? And people even would get drunk and go out and kill themselves in one way or another. We're driving a car or something else and you get killed. Or, nowadays they're taking all these strong drugs and overdosing on drugs too. So it's, their mind, we read other verses like that the mind can be our greatest enemy. So, people are also, all these armies and all these, these people complaining the police are brutality to them and all, but their minds are what is bringing that brutality a lot. Where their minds are their minds are causing them more harm than the police could cause them by whatever they might be doing, gang warfare, right? And they go out and shooting different people because of drugs and things like that. So they're doing more harm than the police or other people, in the whatever, in any kind of enemy. Our own mind can do us more harm than others. Now, the opposite of that, this sister verse. So I'm going to, I think I recited the Pali of that already. What neither the mother nor father nor any other relative can do for a person, a well-directed mind can do more and therefore elevate one. So our mothers or fathers or relatives may help us, when we are a child growing up. They help us, have a good upbringing and give us things that we need. But, if a person, based on that, if they, develop their mind in a good way, then that mind will bring them even more benefit in the future. So, and so even though, let's say a person is brought up in a family where maybe it's not such a good family life conditions, yet maybe the mother or father are not able to help or give that child everything that they might need, but still if that child develops their own mind, then they'll be able to get out of that and do well. And we see there's many instances of people in the world who come from very impoverished backgrounds in very difficult situations, that were able to, overcome them and develop their own mind and direct their life to be very useful for themselves and others. Because no one can develop your mind except you. And others can talk about the mind, even the Buddha, right? So he could give discourses and instruct people in meditation and tell them how they should do that, the proper steps for training the mind. And they might have spiritual friends of the other monks, but still that person has to muster their own inner mental strength to do the practice. So that's why, the mind really is, our mind is the only true refuge. But we have to train it in the proper way. And that's what the Dhamma is. The Dhamma is a guideline for how we train and strengthen our mind in a wholesome way to bring happiness here and hereafter, as opposed to not doing anything about the mind, thinking others should always do everything for you. In the Western countries, some privileged people, they think everything should be done for them. The government should give us everything, or we rich people should give us things and this and that. Well, that may not happen, and so despite that, people have to, help themselves. We can't depend on others. That's the main thing. You can't depend on others. The only thing you can depend on is your own mind, and it has to be well trained. It has to be grounded in the fundamentals. Otherwise, you either cause yourself suffering or you follow the path to to freedom, to liberation. So that is the main import of those sutras. Now, there's one other story. So there's a story that accompanies this this last verse. This is kind of maybe sound like a funny story, but it says there was a wealthy person, a wealthy lay person, and it doesn't say whether it was a man or a woman, but they harbored a lustful thought on seeing an arahant. In other words, they saw an arahant, some monk who probably looked very nice, who was walking, and they entertained maybe some sexual fantasy. Again, we don't know if it was a man or a woman, but anyway. But later on, this person was able to control his mind and give up that that kind of fantasy, that negative thoughts about an arahant. And this person became a monk himself. And it is saying that he also attained arahantship. So that monk, he had an ill-directed mind before, but he was able to change the mind, maybe on the guidance of some other monks or so. Anyway, he was able to change his mind, and then he became a monk and attained arahantship. And then the Buddha heard about that. People came and told the Buddha, this had happened. And then the Buddha praised the monk and added that a well-directed mind could bestow great blessings, such as would not be within the power of even a mother or a father. Yeah, and even in more contemporary times, like nowadays, there's so many Western monks and nuns, right? People in the West, like myself and so many others. who grew up in non-Buddhist families where maybe the mother or father, they weren't very sympathetic toward Buddhism, or they were even a little bit antagonistic against Buddhists because they didn't understand, what it was. So they had they weren't happy that their son or daughter became a monk or a nun. So maybe they didn't give much encouragement for them to do that in the beginning. But nevertheless, the monk or nun was then able to, anyway, follow the teaching and gain a great benefit. So more benefit than the mother or father could bestow them, is especially in terms of Dhamma, right? So others may be able to help you to a certain extent, in the life. But as I was mentioning in my talk on New Year's Day, the group conditioning, we grow up in a certain society, in a certain culture, and, we get programmed by that culture, but it can only do so much for us. And at some point, we have to go off on our own and maybe even change our culture to a certain extent. That means maybe if that particular religion wasn't giving you enough spiritual sustenance, then you might change that, go off on one's own. So that's the same sort of thing that, again, we use our mind. And the mind ultimately is the only thing that's going to help you toward freedom. Others can only do so much. So that is the end of the Chitta Vagga, the chapter on the mind. Now I'd like to see if there's any questions that came up in the chat room, and or any further comments or discussion on any of those 3 verses, or could be some related, Dhamma topics if you have. So let's see. It says, I read somewhere with psychic powers, one can overcome ill health, especially punyavato idi, gives good health and longevity. Sickness and pain are major obstacles and not easy to ignore. Could you please talk about these idis to fix health issues? Well, in terms of, it's true that perhaps some person you could change, overcome sicknesses through some kind of psychic power, but it's probably not good. I wouldn't count on it. And you would have to have a very, very highly developed type of mind to overcome that ill health. Now, they said that even the Buddha couldn't overcome, he had good health most of the time, only until he got older. But once in a while, he got afflicted by, maybe some stomach pains, or ate a certain kind of food and, didn't agree with the stomach. So he might have gotten sick sometimes. And we read in the first verse, there was a lot of sick monks. The custom was that when monks got sick, others took care of them. So there were sicknesses going on. But the Buddha, again, he said, let the body be sick, don't let the mind be sick. So, and of course, taking care of the body is useful, like if you get some proper exercises and watch your diet, but still that's not going to be a cure, because even some yogi could get COVID-19 and die. I don't know if it happened yet, but it could happen. But so I wouldn't count on this trying to develop the psychic power. We try to do live in a preventive way. by keeping our thoughts clean, and not necessarily psychic power, but just developing mindfulness and concentration and purifying your mind of greed, hatred, and delusion, that itself is a kind of psychic power, because it takes power to overcome the defilements, right? That's why so few people do that, and why it's so difficult, and even for meditators who've been meditating for years and years and years, their mind is still sometimes beset by this greed, hatred, and delusion. So therefore, which themselves causes certain sickness. We all know that psychosomatic syndrome, if you get the physical ailments, the mind can actually cause the body to get physical ailments or perhaps diseases. So the real psychic power is purifying the mind of greed, hatred, and delusion, and developing mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. Whether we actually get some psychic power that can heal ourselves or not, that's not, I wouldn't count on that. Some people, there has been claims of people getting spontaneous remission of certain ailments, perhaps even cancers or different problems have come about maybe because of meditation practice, and that so much the better. So it could happen, but the more thing is to take about just by following the teaching of the Eightfold Path and purifying one's sila and mindfulness, and also avoiding the kind of things that are unhealthy for us, right? So nowadays we have the opportunity to be a little bit more selective in what we eat, and to avoid perhaps the kind of foods that don't agree with us, and to get exercise. See, in those days, the monks always walked. They walked a lot, right? They had to walk at least 1 or 2 hours a day to collect food. And they wandered in between the times. They wandered, like many, many miles, It talks about the Buddha going from, his birthplace in Kapilavastu all the way to, Banaras, a couple 100 miles, So they got exercise. And they were out in nature a lot. They weren't exposed to so many chemicals and problems that we have nowadays. So, that. But anyway, so. But I would say the punyavato idi is actually the idi of punya, metta, merit, having accumulated merits. And so like providing medicines to the sick, building hospitals, things like that, that could be a karmic connection to where in the next life you might experience a more freedom from sickness. But a lot of sicknesses have their root in a past life also. That means we carried these negative vibrations and so on, the karma, come to this life, and it could cause the kind of sicknesses and problems that people experience in this life. Now, of course, modern science, they don't believe in past lives, so they don't believe in that. And they just say everything that happens in this life is just either by chance or that's the way God wants it or whatever. But, from our Buddhist point of view, we don't believe that. We believe that a lot of things are carried over as karmic conditions. Okay. What is the relation between chitta and wisdom? Well, chitta basically means the consciousness. And chitta can be a wholesome chitta or an unwholesome chitta. So if you have thoughts of hatred in your mind, that's called dosa chitta. If you have thoughts of, metta or some wholesome positive thoughts in your mind, that's considered a sobhana chitta. That means a wholesome mind. So the chitta itself is just the consciousness, but it's the mental factors that are within the consciousness that give that consciousness maybe a particular name, such as a mind, a hateful mind, a happy mind, a wise mind, a deluded mind. And wisdom is the natural wisdom that comes from a clear mind, a purified mind. That means a mind that's developed in mindfulness and concentration. So wisdom arises only when you've gained a certain degree of concentration. That means there's many sutras where the Buddha said, one who is concentrated sees reality as it is. And seeing reality as it is wisdom from the Dhamma point of view. So, and you're conscious of that too. So, there is some relation, but, and then wisdom becomes a faculty of that consciousness. And the wisdom is cultivated when you purify that consciousness. So the purified chitta, when you attain first jhana, second, third, fourth jhana, when you develop the insight knowledges and develop insight into anicca, dukkha, and anatta, that is the wisdom. That's how the wisdom means seeing the pure, colorless nature of consciousness, or experiencing the pure wisdom that's beyond ego, experiencing the non-dual, the non-dual present moment awareness. That is really the deepest level of direct wisdom. And it's wisdom, but it's also consciousness. You can't get away from consciousness. We wouldn't know anything. We'd be dead without consciousness. We wouldn't know nothing. Every moment we have to have consciousness, although people become unconscious, but they're then conscious of subtler mental phenomena. And but everything else is the content of the consciousness. So even wisdom is the content of the consciousness. We have an experience in meditation, a perception of emptiness. That's also an object within the consciousness. So even insights are objects within the consciousness, the chitta. But it becomes the pure chitta at that time. This next question, how do we overcome confusion? Confusion is the opposite of, clarity and wisdom. So we overcome confusion again through developing the Noble Eightfold Path, by developing right understanding, by developing right thought, and then especially the mindfulness, the right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. We have confusion because we're not, we just have so many layers of conditioning and defilement in our mind, and it takes some people a lot more time to weaken that. I mean, to clear the mind of its hindrances. I give the simile a lot about how meditation is like, let's say, a windshield wiper on a car, right? So the windshield wiper, when it's raining, the wipers go back and forth like this, cleaning the rain. Otherwise, if they're not, then when the heavy rain comes down, you can't see out the window and you might cross the line and crash. So the windshield wiper keeps moving away the raindrops. So in the same way, mindfulness is like that. Every moment, whenever a negative thought comes in your mind, you whip it away with the right thought. When a wrong understanding comes, you wipe it out with right understanding. When a wrong thought comes in, you wipe it out with, you change it into right thought. When a wrong speech comes into the mind, you change it, you wipe it out, replace it with right speech. And the same with the other factors of the Eightfold Path. And by doing that, little by little, that mirror of the consciousness becomes clear and the confusion goes away. Like we have confusion. Do I have a self or don't I have a self? I think I have a self. Do I have a self? Buddha says we don't have a self. Somebody else says we have a self. You're confused. Because you've got to see it yourself. You can't just believe what somebody else says. All the Buddha's teachings, the Buddha is telling us how to practice, not telling us what truth is, how to arrive at the truth that we see directly for ourselves. So, that's how we overcome confusion. So, and the best way to overcome confusion is what we're going to do in a few minutes, meditate. Okay? So, any last questions? If anybody wants to ask a question just by, turning on their microphone and asking a question over the microphone, you could do that. So, or let's go ahead and take a couple minutes break to use the restroom or drink a little sip of water, and then come back in a couple minutes and I'll see if there's any questions that come up by that time. If not, we'll just carry on with do a few yogi stretches and then sit for the meditation. Okay? So I'll see you back in a few minutes. Well, yeah, I'm going to still come back and first, but I'll do that. I'll do that now. Okay, we're back. It doesn't look like any new chat questions here. So give you one last chance to ask any question by hand, or if anybody wants to unmute their mic and okay, so we'll just go ahead and start a little series of some yoga exercises and then go into our meditation practice. So we're going to reorient our camera for a minute. So we're just a minute to, you can go ahead and find a place to stand up, near your seat there at home for those of you out there at home. Okay, friends, so just try to stand straight. Relax your arms and hands at the sides. Just gently close your eyes. Just focus your attention where the feet press the floor. You feel the weight of the body pressing the feet on the floor. And try to mentally feel the height and weight over the body. Feel clothing touching the skin of the body. And just mentally remind yourself of standing, the present moment, the here and now of the body. And then begin some deep, slow breathing. Try to start the breath, breathing into the lower lung and draw the air up through the middle into the upper part of the chest. Feel that expansion up in the upper chest. Hold the air in the lungs 2 or 3 seconds, and then slowly breathe out, feeling the relaxing, contracting of the out breath. You feel the last bit of air go out of the lungs, and the next in breath. Just developing this basic mindfulness, present moment mindfulness. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, standing here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, standing here and now. We're going to combine these exercises with that same kind of deep, slow breathing to coordinate the breathing with the movements. So can you open your eyes and observe the screen as I lead you through these few fairly simple exercises. So the next in-breath, raise the arms over the head, interlock the fingers, turn the palms up, straighten the arms, stretch your head back to look up at the back of your hands, arch your back a little bit. On the out breath, turn the palms down and touch the top of the head. And again, in breath, palms up, straighten the arms, head back, arch the spine. Out breath, touch the top of the head. Once more, in breath. And hold that upward stretch longer. And on the out breath, release the fingers, the arms back to the sides. Feel the sensations as you lower the arms back. Maybe some increased kind of tingling sensations. Just keep the attention focused in the body. Just feel those increased body sensations. Or if you can't feel that, just feel your feet pressing the floor. You just remember standing throughout this whole session of the movements. Don't let the mind wander in the past and future. Just keep it grounded, centered in the body, the present moment. On the next in breath, push up on the toes and raise the arms up over the head in this way. And stretch upwards, facing the hands toward each other. The out breath, come back down, arms to the side, heels to the floor. You can feel the sensation. In breath up. Out. Use the breathing to help lift and lower the body. Again, in breath. Out. Just relax. Just keep feeling the body, the increased sensations. With each exercise and breathing, life force sensations in the body should gradually increase and become more prominent. Pulsations, prickling sensations, minor aches and pains. And then next we'll do knee bending. Again, on the in breath, lift up on the toes and raise the arms up front for balance. And on the out breath, bend the knees and lower down, balancing on the front of the feet, balls of the feet. And the in breath to push up. Feel the strength of the leg muscles pushing the body up. Out breath. In. Out. In. The out breath, lower the arms, relax. Feel the increased heart beating. Feel the sensations of the clothing touching the skin. Or any other increased sensation, noticeable sensations. And all these sensations, basically, they're just cells and atoms, electrons vibrating, interacting, producing all these different sensations that you feel. Ultimately, this body that seems solid is just compressed energy. That's an aspect of wisdom. You can actually feel that in the body. That's wisdom. Something you can't see with the naked eye. Only the eye of concentrated eye. Okay, next we'll do side bending. On the in-breath, raise both arms over the head. On the out-breath, bend over the right side. Try to keep the arms parallel to each other. Don't let them spread apart like that. Keep them parallel to each other. In breath, lift up. Then the other side, out breath. Feel that stretch in the side. In breath, up. Again to the right, out breath. In. Out. In. Once more to each side. In the out breath, lower the arms. Relax. Just feel the increased sensations. Heart beating, pulsating. Clothes touching the skin. These are all just present moment sensations. Okay, now spread the legs apart about 3 feet. We're going to do the forward and backward bending. So be careful with the back bends. When you come up from a back bend and lift up, there could be some body shaking or feeling like you're going to black out, a rush of energy. So just be careful and don't bend back too far the first time. Let the hands touch the front of your legs. Breathe in. On the out breath, bend forward. Keep the head up. Let the hands come down to your knees the first time. Look out straight ahead. Try to flatten the spine, getting the hump out of the spine. The in-breath, lift up. Move the hands around the back, under the buttocks for support. Let the head go back. And the out-breath, gently bend backwards, not too far the first time. Keep the eyes open, look up at the ceiling. In-breath, carefully lift up. Be aware of any strong sensations. And the out-breath, again, bend forward. Let the hands come down below the knees. Still keep the head up, legs straight. Flatten the spine. In-breath, lift up. Again, the hands around the back bend. And bend back a little more. In-breath, lift up. And the third time, out breath, let the hands come down as far as you can toward the feet. And still kind of keep the head lifted up somewhat. Don't look directly down. Hold that longer, feel the stretch in the back of the legs. Just let the breathing be shallow. And an in-breath, lift up. And once more, the back bend on the out breath. In-breath up. And the out-breath, just relax. Just feel the whole body. Vibrating, pulsating with activated life force. It's the present moment awareness. Feel each foot pressing the floor. Feel the hands touching the side of the legs. Feel the clothing touching the skin on different places. Just this body exactly as it is, here and now. The present moment awareness. Standing, standing, standing. You now bring the feet back together. We'll do one last exercise, simply the head turning. We'll keep the chin level with the floor. On the in-breath, turn the head, pivot the head on the neck vertebrae to the right until you can look over your right shoulder. On the out-breath, turn 180 degrees back to the left. Look over the left shoulder. Try to concentrate in the neck vertebrae, feeling them loosening up. In-breath back to the right. Out-breath left. In-breath right. Out-breath left. On the next in-breath, let the head stop in the center. Relax. Just mentally feel the whole outline of the standing body. Feet pressing the floor, the arms and hands at the sides. Clothing touching the skin on different places, the head balanced on top. This body is the natural connection for the mind to the present moment. This body is the anchor for the consciousness, to keep it anchored in the here and now. The starting point for any deeper wisdom is keeping the mind grounded, centered, concentrated in the body. Okay. So now we'll come back to our seats get ready for the sitting meditation. Could just leave it like that without putting any virtual thing behind that. Looks nice. Like, yeah, that looks lion. And so for those who are viewing the screen, you might see our mascot there beside my head. That's the Lion of Wisdom mascot. And the reason why we're keeping the lion here is you see he's roaring. That's the lion's roar. So if during meditation my mind is wandering, or any of the meditators sitting out in front, if their mind is wandering, the lion is roaring, say, mind your mind. Come back to the present moment, he's saying. If your mind is starting to entertain some unwholesome thoughts. So we have to cultivate our inner lion's roar. That means our mindfulness. Whenever we get caught up or lost in thoughts, the mindfulness is negative thought, or lost in the past, lost in the future. Come back to the present moment. Okay, so as normal, I'm going to actually turn off this video now so that you focus within yourself. And just try to sit straight. Keep the back and the back of the head and your back, spine in a straight line. First of all, just feel the weight of the body pressing the seat. Just feel the sensations of the buttocks pressing the seat. Try to feel the right buttock and the left buttock. And let the awareness kind of just move down the legs toward the feet, feeling the different sensations in your upper legs, the knees, the lower legs. And focusing the attention on the feet. Feel the outline of the feet. Feel the toes, the arches, and the heel. feel all those different little sensations, pulsations, tingling sensations, where the feet or toes or touch each other. And just remind yourself of sitting. Here and now. Now let the attention move up a little bit to feel your hands and fingers where they touch together, where the hands touch the legs. Try to feel some outline of the different fingers, subtle pulsations in the hands or fingers. Now feel the weight of the arms hanging from the shoulders. Relax the shoulders. Feel where the clothing touches the skin of the shoulders or upper arm. Just remember sitting. Don't give the mind time to wander to the past or future. Now feel your neck, where the neck joins the upper body, connects to the head. Feel some different sensations in your throat. Any sensation to want to cough or swallow. Now moving the attention up to feel your lower jaw. Feel inside the mouth where maybe some teeth touch together. And feel the tongue laying in the mouth. And feel the lips touching together, the lower lip touching the upper lip. Now try to feel the tip of your nose. You take a couple of deep, slow breaths, see if you can feel the air touching the tip of the nose as it enters. And still remember sitting, sitting, breathing in, sitting, breathing out, sitting. Just continue that deeper breathing. Just feel your face. Feel the different sensations on the skin of the face, on your cheeks, chin, forehead, the nose. It's like the skin of a drum stretched over a drum head. This facial skin is stretched over the skull. Get a tight fit. Sort of feel those subtle little prickling sensations or stretch sensations. Now feel the eyes resting in the sockets, and the eyelids stretched over the eyeball. Just kind of just gaze in and around the eyes. Feel the different little sensations. Might notice some subtle eye movement, or the pulse of the blood in the capillaries of the eyeballs or eyelids. You might see some light or color, or even a mental image. Or just darkness. And just remember sitting, sitting, sitting. It's the present moment of this body exactly as it is, here and now. Just try to feel the outline of the sitting body. Just try to hold that outline of the sitting body in the mind's eye. Just feel the sensations of the legs and feet underneath, the arms and hands in the middle, the head balanced on top. Just try to hold that outline of the sitting posture. Just continually remember sitting, sitting, sitting. Then begin again some deep, slow breathing. Try to expand, feel the breathing by expanding the abdomen, the middle rib cage, and the upper chest in one long in-breath. And hold the air in the lungs for 2, 3, or 4 seconds to feel that pause. Give time the oxygen to get into the bloodstream, then feel the relaxing contraction of the out-breath. Or to feel the last bit of air going out of the lungs. And then the next in-breath. Just cultivate this basic mindfulness as you're taking several more deep, slow breaths. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Feel the pause. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. Now we're going to try to count the breaths from 1 to 10 to develop a better concentration. Just continue the deeper breathing if you can. Although if you're tired of it, you can let the breath go back to its shorter lengths. But on the next incoming breath, mentally count 1. And feel the brief pause. And on the outgoing breath, also count 1. The next in-breath, count 2. The out-breath, 2. In-breath, 3. Out-breath, 3. In-breath, 4. Out-breath, 4. In-breath, 5. Out-breath, 5. In-breath, 6. Out-breath, 6. In-breath, 7. Out-breath, 7. In-breath, 8. Out-breath, 8. In-breath, 9. Out-breath, 9. In-breath, 10. Out breath 10. Now discontinue the counting. Discontinue any controlled breathing, letting the breathing return to its own uncontrolled pattern, but continue to feel it. Keep the mind focused there in the middle of the body. Feel the subtler expanding and contracting sensation. Try to feel where the clothing rubs against the skin of the stomach, rib cage, or chest as it expands and contracts, producing sensation. That's what you feel. And just remember, just know when the breath is coming in and know when the breath is going out. Know it by feeling it. Try to feel the expanding sensations and the brief pause, the contracting sensations and the brief pause. The 4 phases of the breath cycle. The in-breath, the brief pause, the out-breath, the brief pause. Just make that your object of your undivided, focused awareness. You can make these brief mental notes to yourself to remember. Just remember in sitting, out, sitting. Those brief pauses, just feel and remind yourself of sitting also. In sitting, out, sitting. This is the ongoing, continuous connection to the present moment. This breathing body is the natural connection to the present moment awareness. Even while you're feeling the expanding and contracting sensations, you can feel other sensations around the breathing as well. The sitting posture. Just make this breathing body your focus of applied and sustained thought. In sitting, out, sitting. And especially with each out breath, just allow the body and mind to relax more and more into the here and now, the present moment. In between the breaths, also check the posture. If the head is drooping down or spine slouching, mindfully with the next in-breath, gently straighten back up to a straight posture. Keep the chin level with the floor. Sort of feel that awake posture. But also be alert for thoughts arising in the mind, any urges to move, random thoughts sneaking in to try to steal your attention away. If you get caught up in thinking, recognize it as thinking. Gently let go of the thoughts. Keep coming back to the sensation of the breathing body. Or take a deep, slow breath to bring the mind back into the body. Back to in, sitting. Out, sitting. Breath by breath, moment by moment. If you catch yourself totally lost in thoughts, recognize it as lost. Find the body sitting on the floor. Take a deep, slow breath. Bring the mind back into the body. Back to in, sitting. Out, sitting. Try to notice subtler, finer details, sensations of the breathing process. Try to see how each breath is different. Sometimes longer, sometimes shorter. Sometimes you feel it more in the abdomen, sometimes you feel it more in the rib cage or upper chest. It's always changing. Be alert when any unpleasant or painful sensations pull at the mind. Try to watch those painful body sensations with onlooking or detached awareness. Just feel how those sensations well up, come to a peak, change in intensity, diminish or disappear. All those different sensations in the body are always just arising, changing, disappearing. Or even the ones that seem to last, they're always changing as well. Try to observe this, feel this changing nature of all the sensations. Sensations on the surface of the skin, sensations on the inside of the body. Try to open up and feel that aliveness of the whole body. The breathing going on in the center. But all around the breathing, other sensations are coming and going. Pulsations, prickling sensations, little aches or pain. Thoughts about them might be arising also. There's two things always happening in the body and mind. There's the constant stream of physical vibration, sensations. There's also the near continuous mental activity, perception, thinking, thought. Mindfulness is the ability to be able to observe all these different changing sensations without getting caught by them or lost into them. Just try to get the idea of just sitting in a movie theater, just watching this movie of the body and mind. Sitting, thinking, sitting, thinking. Or if any strong, disturbing thoughts arise, and try to apply the appropriate antidote for letting go of them. Be aware of the hindrances of sense desire or ill will. Just remember this wisdom of the Dhammapada verses. This mind is always flittering about. you stay grounded to the body, that mental agitation gradually subsides. As you stay more grounded in the body, tuning in to the life force vibration, you can experience the piti sensations, the pleasant life force vibrations of the body will help the mind let go of any wandering thought. The pleasant internal vibrations of the body are more pleasant than our wandering thought. And just always remembering sitting, breathing, sitting, breathing. If you remember that, the mind doesn't have time to think about anything else. Sitting, breathing, sitting, breathing. Developing the one-pointed concentration. If there's too many thoughts or the mind is drowsy, then come back and do some more deliberate, deep, slow breathing to help keep the bloodstream oxygenated, help to keep the mind grounded in the present moment body sensation. Breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. Sensations come and go. Urges and thoughts come and go. Sounds come and go. Perceptions come and go. These are all just a continuous flow and flux of impermanence, the sensory vibrations coming and going through the mental space, the present moment awareness. This breathing body is the natural connection with the life preserver to the present moment. If we lose this connection to the breathing body, and the mind gets easily lost and tossed about on the waves of sense perceptions, sensations, greed, hatred, deluded thoughts, worry, fear, anxiety. So cultivate this constant connection to the breathing body. There's that constant connection to the present moment. We carry this body around with us 24/7, 365. The last number is uncertain. How long we'll live. So make the best use of this body and life while it lasts. And remember that Dhammapada verse that we went over. Alas, this body will lie before too long, cast upon the ground like a useless rotting log. And generate that motivation in this new year to try to practice more Dhamma, to read more suttas, to practice more periods of meditation, to practice the M&Ms, the minutes of mindfulness throughout the day. What perceptions arise in the mind based on that contact, sound contact? Sabbi sankhara anicchati. Sabbi sankhara dukkati. Sabbi dhamma anattati. Yada panyaya pasati atani bindati dukhi esamaggo visuddhiya. All conditioned things, the five aggregates of this body, mind, and world are impermanent. They arise only to change and pass away. When one sees this with the eye of wisdom, one becomes disenchanted with suffering. This is the path to purity, to freedom. And thus spoke the Buddha. Now, again, let's finish last few minutes of the meditation by sending out mental waves of metta towards our own body and mind, and then outwards towards all other beings. So again, take a few deep, slow breaths. After breathing in, hold the air in the lungs for 4 or 5 seconds to feel those oxygenated blood, life force sensations, imagining it going out to permeate all the cells and tissues of the body. And on the out breath, feel that relaxation. Imagine the healing power of that breathing. Doing that breathing is like sending metta to your own body and mind. It's a healing energy for the body, and it's also healing for the mind. So just take a few more deep, slow breaths, feeling that metta, sending that metta to the whole body, mind, nervous system. Just with the thoughts of, may I be well, peaceful and wise. May I be free from greed, hatred, fear, and ignorance. May I be free from the pains and sufferings of body and mind brought about by such unskillful thought, speech, and action. May I have the patience, strength, mindfulness, and wisdom to meet and overcome all difficulties in life. May I be able to continue to develop my understanding of the Dhamma and the practice of meditation to help free the mind from confusion and suffering. May I be well, peaceful, and wise. And take a few more deep, slow breaths and send these same kind of metta thoughts, vibrations to your parents, other family members, good friends, neighbors who live nearby you, or your colleagues at work. Just with the thought, may all of them too be free from greed, hatred, fear, and ignorance. May they be well, peaceful, and wise. May they be able to hear the Dhamma and to practice meditation to free their minds from confusion and suffering. May they be well, peaceful, and wise. And continue to take a few more deep, slow breaths, and just extending these waves of metta thoughts and vibrations out across the whole country in all the directions, and across the oceans to all the people in Europe, Canada, Mexico, Asia, and eventually just surrounding the whole earth with these metta vibrations of pure wisdom, pure love, pure energy. Just with the thought, may all living beings, wherever they might be well, happy and peaceful, free from greed, hatred, fear, and ignorance, free from the pains and sufferings of body and mind brought about by their unskillful thought, speech, and action. May all beings have the patience, strength, mindfulness, and wisdom to meet and overcome all difficulties in life. May all beings be able to hear the teachings of the Dhamma and to practice meditation to help free their minds from confusion and suffering. May all beings be well, peaceful, and wise. Now to finish this meditation, I invite you to join in chanting the word sadhu 3 times slowly. Do the chanting on a long out breath. So breathe in, sadhu. Sadhu. Now place your hands at the edge of the knees. Take one more deep breath as you breathe in. Stretch the head back. Pull the hands against the knees. Arch your lower spine. Hold it a few moments. Feel the sensations. Lift the head up on an out breath and press the chin to the chest on the out breath. And lift the chin up level on an in breath. The out breath, relax. Just put a smile on your face. Okay, friends, so again, I want to wish you all a very peaceful and mindful New Year. And again, if you haven't made your New Year's resolutions yet, try to make the resolution to practice more M&Ms, minutes of meditation during the day, and try to make your evening and morning meditations more regular, and that's how we help to overcome the negative forces that come at us during our daily lives from all directions, within us or from without. It's only that mindfulness and awareness you can have at our sort of instant beck and call. Apply that. We can avoid getting the mind caught up into negative things. unhealthy types of thoughts and actions. And so actually I'll be sending out a newsletter this tomorrow, by tomorrow hopefully, about the Wednesday the sutta study class, and we're going to be doing 2 suttas from Anguttara Nikaya on contemplation of death. Kind of goes together with what we were reflecting on today. And so, again, as you're just coming off the winter holidays, so you might be returning to work again tomorrow, and it's when we need to, have our mindfulness present. Okay, I wish you all the best. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bhante. Wish you the same. Wish you Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. All the best, Bhante.
Thank you.
Happy New Year, Bhante.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bhante.
Don't forget mindfulness today.